All around the world were people having these experiences while they were unconscious, even clinically dead. Who can't be mystified by that question of what happens after you die?
As I've traveled around the world to China and Japan and India and North and South America and all over Europe, people all over the world use the word light, but they say that it's not the light that comes from a light bulb or from the sun, but universally the description is of a light of complete compassion and love. And people also say that they learned from their experience that what we call death is a transition into some other reality. So they lose their fear of death.
The day was January 18th, 1989. Very chilly by South Texas standards. I almost stopped in a little town before you cross all the bridges to get some coffee. I didn't. The people who were on the highway ahead of me, she wanted some coffee. They pulled over, I drove past them, and they came in behind me, Dick and Anita Oneraker.
It was foggy and a slight rain. It was wet.
And I knew I would have to cross some bridges. It was an old bridge, and it is very narrow. I'm just really focused on getting back to Alvin, Texas, where I live. I was headed back that way and looking forward to seeing my family, which I missed for 3 days, especially my wife. What I didn't know was that steep embankment was there. It's like going on a tunnel, because you have this big metal superstructure above you on both sides of you. You could see only really to the end of the bridge, and then the highway goes up. So I couldn't see beyond the end of the bridge. Out of nowhere, a tractor-trailer truck hit the car in his lane, and then came over to my lane and hit me head on.
When we approached the bridge, the first thing on the right was this large 18-wheeler. And then the next thing on the left, I believe was a gray car. It had a single older man in it. Then the next thing was Don's red car that was all crushed and smashed. So we were only 4 vehicles on the bridge at that point.
I was stationed in Walker County at the time. I said, how does it look for him? And they said, not good at all. That was, just something I never forgot. I mean, seeing that. It was a miserable, miserable day.
Traffic is backed up for miles in both directions, because at that time, it was the only bridge across that lake. In fact, Dick Oneraker and Anita had to leave their car and walk up on the bridge to get to where the accident was.
Police approached Dick first and said, don't even bother with that man. I've already checked him and he has no pulse. And then Dick did check and he could not identify any pulse.
You could see from this wrecking yard picture that the trajectory of the truck as it went over. When the truck hit me, it literally took this arm over my shoulder into the back seat. The steering wheel actually went horizontal and into my chest. My head had banged up against the metal side of the interior of the car. My right leg was broken at the knee. But I must have slid in the seat a little sideways because it hit from that angle. And when it did, it literally severed my left leg just above the knee. And 4.5 inches of the femur was ejected from the car and actually never found. I'd been killed instantly. My heart was not beating, so it was not pumping blood. I died on the bridge.
I'm a board-certified orthopedic spine surgeon, and physicians spend their entire career evading death. We believe that if we are smart enough, if we are well trained enough, and if we do a good enough job, that we can control the outcomes, that we can control the variables, and we can cheat death. My husband and I were avid kayakers. Kayaking is both challenging and exhilarating. We began to go down the river. We went over the first couple of drops. It was very high flow, very high current, strong current. There was another client that sort of bobbled her way past me and ended up sideways at the entrance to the chute. So my only option was to veer over and go over the main part of the waterfall. And the front end of my boat became pinned. And the boat and I were then completely submerged under 8 to 10 feet of water. I recognized that I was probably going to drown. I would think about the fact that I must be dead, but I didn't feel dead. I felt more alive than I've ever felt. I felt this incredible experience, like I was just part of the water. I felt magnificent, actually. I knew that I was being held by Christ as purely as I know anything. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just something that is outside of our language.
We went up a world-famous climb, maybe 500 feet, 3 pitches up.
As the train started pulling out, I just thought, this is it, I'm gonna die.
Took a corner doing 90 miles an hour, flipped over, and it landed on his top. All I remember seeing was a big white light.
The knife had gone all the way through my liver. I had a punctured lung, and I started feeling myself leave my body.
You were in the hospital bed,
Right.
but you had left your body, and your body was on the bed. My spirit was.
And I could see in every direction at once.
Up on the ceiling looking down, there was this feeling of the presence. Felt like it was
kind of like the guy up in the sky.
And that was God. I just know it was
The
God.
meaning of life, of everything.
It's unlike anything that I've ever experienced.
I have no fear of death.
It's with total knowledge and
But it was
unconditional
love. It was all the love that is in the universe.
Death is not the end, it's probably the
I
beginning.
looked into his eyes. It was like I was looking at forever inside, and I could see the love he had for me.
People don't believe you when you say the story, but it's just so real. Almost 30 minutes had gone by. Enough time had passed that they had shifted from a rescue mode to purely a body recovery mode. I could see this bloated purple body, and I never felt alive and then dead. I never felt conscious and then unconscious. I felt conscious and then more conscious. I felt alive and then more alive.